He is going to tell us today about persuading with power, and he's going to talk about time, our greatest friend, and procrastination, our greatest enemy. David?
Okay. Around 3,000 years ago, there lived some pretty great orators. Two in particular that I want to talk about are a Roman orator by the name of Cicero and a Greek orator by the name of Demosthenes. And these two orators, they were great speakers. They weren't timorous at all. They had their own style of speaking, though. For instance, when Cicero were to finish up speaking, people will be wowed by his speech. They'd say, "Wow, what a great speech. What a great show." On the other hand, Demosthenes, he took things a little bit differently. He inspired his audience, and a lot of times at the end of his speech, people will be like, "Let us march." So, Madam Toastmaster, fellow members and guests, I hope that you enjoy my presentation. However, I'm hoping that you don't enjoy it so much like a Cicero speech where you're just going to praise me for my showmanship. Instead, I'm hoping that you think of this speech more as a Demosthenes speech. And hopefully I can inspire you to be ready to take some action. And hopefully you'll be thinking to yourself, "Let us march." So what I would like to speak about today is going to be a story, a powerful story about the time value of money. And I'm going to talk about how time can be your greatest friend and procrastination can be your greatest enemy. I'm going to demonstrate that with this story. And this story is about two twins, Sam and Sarah. And when they were 22 years old, they decided that they were going to fully fund their Roth IRA and try and for their retirement nest egg. So what I mean by fully fund the retirement IRA is that they're going to pay the maximum amount per year for their IRA, which right now it's $5,000, so that works out to be $416 a month. But we're going to make the math a little bit easier, and we'll go with $400 a month. And all the calculations I'm going to be using are going to be based on 12% rate of return, which over the time I'm going to be talking about, it's very possible. So first of all, these green squares, or these green boxes, are going to represent 1 year of investing $400 a month for a whole year, and the white ones are representing 1 year of investing nothing for the whole year. So right away after their conversation, Sam actually starts procrastinating. If you notice, he waits 6 years. He procrastinates, he drags his feet for 6 years. But on the other hand, Sarah invests immediately and starts investing $400 a month, just like they spoke of. But she was only able to do it for 6 years, and she wasn't able to do it anymore. She got married, and she wasn't able to do the investing anymore. So it just so happens at Sarah's wedding, Sam and Sarah talked again, and Sarah's like, "Man, I've been investing just like we discussed, month after month. So how are things going with you, Sam?" Well, so Sam pretty much didn't start his investing, and he was like, "Wow, you've been investing all this time? Man, I better get myself into gear." So basically, from that conversation on until retirement, he, just like clockwork, invests $400 a month. And so basically, Sarah only was able to invest for 6 years. So basically, out of her own money, she only put in $28,800 by the time she was 65, because she didn't invest this whole period. Now Sam's, from investing this whole period, he invested $177,000 of his own money by age 65. Now we said it was going to work at 12%, so let's just see what would happen, how much his money's accumulated to by the time he retired with just that $177,000. Well, working at 12%, that's going to go to $3.3 million. And for Sarah, she only got a chance to invest for 6 years, she was unable to, after she got married, to invest anymore. So you can imagine she's probably not going to be so happy at the end here because she didn't put that much money in. You know, $177,000 turned into $3.3 million. So you can imagine probably $28,000 probably isn't going to, she'd be lucky to make $1 million by then. But let's just check and see what it would have grown to. Well, $3.5 million? Well, this may seem crazy, but the calculation is not wrong. It's basically, this demonstrates how important her starting to invest 6 years before Sam, how important that is. So basically, and another note is, if these are all Roth IRAs, this would be tax-free when they withdraw it. But some more information is that it's kind of fascinating that over a 43-year period of time, from age 22 to 65, Sam invests over 6 times more than Sarah, although he still ends up with $200,000 less at retirement. So in this case, this demonstrates my point that time was Sarah's best friend in this instance, whereas procrastination was Sam's worst enemy. But you're probably all thinking like, well, it wasn't that big of an enemy because he still ended up with $3.3 million in retirement. And you probably don't know too many people that have been in retirement with $3.3 million. Well, another interesting fact is that, you know, if Sam were to invest the whole period of time, he would not only have his own $3.3 million, but he'd also have Sarah's $3.5 million, a total of $6.8 million. Just imagine if this line was one continuous line, it would have the whole $6.8 million. Another interesting, so basically by procrastinating just for 6 years, it cost him $3.5 million. Another interesting thing is the money Sarah invested in her first 6 years was worth more at the age of 65 than all the money Sam invested during his last 37 years. So, just like Demosthenes, I have some calls of action for you. First call to action is act now. Be like Sarah and start investing immediately. You saw how in a small amount, which for retirement's sake, $28,000 turned over a long period of time into $3.3 million. So you got to take advantage of the time that you have. Next, don't procrastinate. Don't be like Sam. You see how just waiting 6 years, his retirement was cut in half pretty much. Also, you know, since kids have the most time, you need to get them started immediately, because this example was based on people being 22 years old. Just imagine if we start our kids a little bit earlier. Another call to action is to share what you've learned. I'm going to be passing out some handouts, and there's a little sticky note over the answer. You can actually tell the story and surprise your friends. But finally, I want to leave you with, let us march.